And now let's check out the midget division finally. So here we got the Bel Air Norsemen, and you guys mentioned the North Shore Mustangs showing up on the doorstep at number 2. We got the Greenfield Park Packers, Sun Youth Hornets. North Shore, they're 9-0, 31 points per game, only allowing 7 points a game. 26-time provincial champion, so that North Shore organization is...
So the interesting thing here to me is that the 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 spots have just completely pushed the Ottawa teams out and to the bottom.
Yep.
We saw the Giants play the Norsemen last week, and they came pretty close.
Yeah, all 3 matchups in the midget division this past week were real close.
There was a touchdown dropped in the end zone there. I mean, I've seen that with the Giants. They've dropped a few touchdowns this year. They're going to need to be on their game, but they still very much believe that they are going to be the team to knock off the Norsemen. The Eagles still has potential.
And that's understandable, Kyle, because they've had such a rough season with all of their equipment being stolen, a big push to get the community back involved in making sure that these kids get an opportunity to play football. And, boy, these are the kids that have something to prove. Yeah, you're going to take this away from us? I don't think so.
So check this out. I was filming the game when the Giants played Norsemen at home, and let me just show you the way that they entered. And look at what Jeff Woodhouse and Yola is doing. I mean, they are doing some awesome stuff. And when this got a lot of views, and I think it's because look at this entrance that they have. They had the cheerleaders. They've got the clubhouse, obviously. They had a smoke bomb and a flag going. They enter the field with blue smoke accompanying them. And this team is a confident group. I think that if they can get their offense, they're starting to kind of click. But here's the thing. You mentioned the Eagles. One thing I noticed, I was watching the highlights that Kyle put together. The Eagles have put Dante Blizzard in at quarterback now. So they've changed. And we talked about that at the showcase. Mm-hmm. They don't have a true quarterback, number 28, playing there.
Right.
They've now moved their slot receiver, Dante, who won in, he's a guy who's won the A-Cup before. He's his dad's coaching, Carlos, with the Eagles. They brought in the OC from the Raiders Bantam team that won the A-Cup last year, and he's calling the plays. They're still very much tweaking their engine, and we might see a completely different Eagles team in the playoffs compared to what we've seen this year.
Well, one thing about the Eagles is they have not locked up their playoff spot yet. So we have the Norsemen, the Riders, and the Giants. They've all locked up their A-Cup ticket. But this weekend, there's still one game for each of the midget teams. Eagles are playing the Knights for the final playoff spot. But for the Knights, it's going to be tough. They have to win, and they have to win by at least 40 to take the 4th playoff spot.
Right.
So it's going to be Norsemen will play whoever gets that 4th spot, and the Riders and Giants are already locked up for playoffs.
Yeah, I hate to say it. I think Canada's kind of just running the season out. I don't think that they're going to do anything. And now we're looking at some other teams like North Shore, Greenfield, Sun Youth. I mean, these are the teams now that the Norsemen and the Giants and maybe the Riders and the Eagles need to be worrying about.
Yep.
And Canada not even in the top 10.
Well, even though they're not on the list, Canada and the Bengals, they had a great game over the weekend. The Bengals put up 5 times as many points as they did all season. Unfortunately, they still lost by a score of 40-30.
We saw them earlier this year, and they were really... Yeah, week 1, and they were really, really hurting because of the fact that they just didn't have enough players. I think they came into the game with 22.
And it's been the same all year, and Canada lost a bunch of players too. So both of those teams are just kind of from an organizational standpoint, they're struggling with numbers. It is what it is, but, I mean, in terms of we're talking about A-Cup and Midget City Championship football here, the real teams that have a shot here are Norsemen, obviously. The Giants, I think, can surprise people.
I think it's going to be the Riders who are going to end up playing in the final.
They look good too. That's the thing. We saw them play the Eagles this week.
Yep.
And like I said, they have the true quarterback. They have a very good quarterback, and I think. Oliver is playing. He's a linebacker, and he's playing, and he's getting the job done because he's just a really intelligent football player. And he won an A-Cup as a quarterback last year in Bantam. He won a provincial championship as a linebacker. Yep. He's just an all-around football player, and he'll do whatever is necessary to win. But he's not a quarterback, and he's playing for the Giants. The Norsemen.
But he won an A-Cup last year as a quarterback.
He did, yeah. Because he understands football and he knows how to get the job done. And we're seeing him. We saw him play the Eagles in Barhaven, we saw them play the Norsemen, and in those 2 games, there's 3 touchdowns dropped. He was placing the ball perfectly in the back of the end zone on the guy's hands, and they dropped it. Yep. So Oliver is doing the job, but he's not like really a true quarterback. And we saw at the Norsemen, they lost their quarterback to Franco Cite.
Right.
And now they've got a new guy in there. So, and he's not a true quarterback. He's a guy that's stepping in and getting the job done. But I feel like you're right. The Riders have the potential to put it together. I think they're a couple pieces, away from being a lot better of a team.
Yep. And that's the beautiful thing about playoffs. It's a one game.
Yeah.
You move on. And I know I was getting some heat from Kyle Prince of the Canada Knights, and because they were asking for my predictions, and I said for Bantam it was going to be the Eagles and the Panthers. And he said, "What do you have against the Knights?" I'm like, "Nothing. I just like picking underdogs sometimes." So, anything can happen come the playoffs.
Well, I'm sure that the Eagles would be happy to hear that vote of confidence.
Yep, for sure.
Playoffs begin next week?
Playoffs begin this weekend in all the divisions except Midget.
All the divisions except Midget. So things heating up in the National Capital Amateur Football Association. Kyle Ball, thanks very much for your input and your insight. Always welcome here on the podcast. Jesse Card, thanks very much. You are a permanent fixture around here.
You can't get rid of me, unfortunately.
No, it's not that we wouldn't want to either. Steve Johnston, our producer, is here. He unfortunately started to talk, but his mic didn't work, and and he's a little frustrated, but we love you anyway, Steve. So just put that in your pipe and light that one up. Anyway, I'm Dan Mooney. Thanks so much for joining us here for HESN podcast number 23. We'll see you again next Wednesday. Thanks so much for the company. So long.
Peace.
William Murder in the beat.